In 2009, during the Great Recession, you could get a foot-long Subway sandwich for $5, which happened to be the same amount of money that a gallon of gasoline cost at the time. Everyone was freaking out about that. But guess what? A gallon of gasoline is $5 today in 2026, and gas prices are going up. Are we looking at a summer of $15 gallon gas? Because that's how much a Subway sandwich is now. We're going to talk about that. We're going to make predictions. This is Bid Nerds. The bidding starts right now. Nerds is your YouTube car game show. All right, we are setting up the show, a Subway sandwich show. No, this is, hello everybody, my name is John Polnick. We're coming to you live from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas, as well as my partner Michael Deeb, way on the far side of the screen in San Francisco. And who is the lovely lady in between the two of us on the screen? Michael Deeb, I'm excited.
JP and all of the Nerd Herd, please give a warm welcome to Coleen Sheehan, who is joining us in the middle of a very, very busy business trip out in Amelia Island there in Jacksonville, Florida. Coleen, thank you for taking time to join the Nerd Herd and join us on the show and basically just to crash and burn your career all before you come home to California. How are you? Thank you for joining us. What's going on?
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on the show.
Yeah, it really
JP,
is kind of like.
Guest,
I was gonna just tell her that it is like those people who tweet before they get on the airplane and they get off the airplane. They're like their life is over because they totally screwed everything up. So sorry in advance. Deeb, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you gonna say?
I was just going to say that, believe it or not, JP, our guest has probably sold Ferraris than you and I have sold Porsches combined, and that's saying something. So put some respect on her name and check her out on Instagram. This is going to be really fun, JP. We've got some cool cars to cover, and then we have picked at least one car to pander to our guest host, our third nerd tonight, so this should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. All right, Coleen, let's get after it. What do we do on this show? A lot of people, if you're here because of Coleen, you've never seen us two yahoos. What we do is we analyze listings on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bid, sometimes P-Car Market, and based on the analysis of said listings, we will make predictions. What will happen as a result of those listings? We always start off every episode by talking about and going over and reconciling the predictions that we made on the last episode. I know, accountability. It's kind of weird, right? Coleen, we're going to let you play along with us here and see how you can do. And then we are going to talk about some gas prices because I know that that's what everyone's talking about in my world, but we will get to that when we get to the new predictions. So we've got a whole bunch of cool cars to talk about. What was the first car that we talked about in the last episode? Michael Deeb.
All right, JP, we are going to circle back to P-Car Market where they had listed a 1994 Porsche 964 Carrera 4 wide body with a 5-speed manual. Our car was listed out of Long Beach, California, and was showing just 65,464 miles from new. JP, in 1994, around the rest of the world, Porsche had already dropped the all-new 993 generation. But here in North America, especially United States, Porsche was still peddling the 964. As such, they created several different special editions of the 964 to continue to drive traffic to the showrooms and move cars until they had produced enough 993s to bring the car stateside, which wouldn't happen until 1995. Feast your eyes on this stunning polar silver over gray leather interior with a manual transmission, the C4 wide body. In 1993, Porsche celebrated its 30-year anniversary, and they made a special edition of the all-wheel drive, wide-bodied, normally aspirated car. They decided to bring a version of that car stateside, and here in North America, they sold about 280 of these. Today, these cars bring big money with the collectors, and this one ticks a lot of boxes. JP Polar Silver is a stunning color on Porsches. The odometer is fair at 65,000 miles. This one is a manual, and not all of them are, so that makes it particularly desirable. And then this car has some Bilsteins and a Steve Wong chip, some speed wheels, the wheels that were featured as standard equipment on the Turbo 3.6s. The car looks fantastic in these studio shots, and we wondered aloud if the quality of the car would be hampered at the hammer by the questions that seem to always arise with the platform P-Car Market. JP, our friends at classic.com remind us that the average selling price of a C4 wide body is $200,000. I thought this car, being a no-nonsense listing and having quality assets with the photography in studio, that the car had a chance to hammer for $296,400. JP, you took the under at $269,964. And Johnny Lieberman, while he was sleepwalking, joined us as third nerd on the last show. And Johnny put a bid in right between us, coming in at $275,000. So, Colleen, we know maybe the cars from Stuttgart aren't your bread and butter, but we do. I'm sure you understand that some of these air-cooled Porsches are highly collectible. It's very similar in the Ferrari world when we have a rare shade these days and a low production number. The way you were talking about GTBs versus GTSs bring a premium because they produce fewer of them. These C4 wide bodies, they made less than 300 in 1994, strictly for our market, and they bring big money. This one ticked all the collectible boxes. What do you think it might have hammered for when it closed just a couple of days ago?
I mean, I think the listing, they did a great job. And being a stick, everyone wants a manual nowadays. So I would guess probably close to what Johnny said, probably 270.
270. Very good guess. JP beat both of you just by a little bit. Our car hammered for only $251,000, but it sold on that number on 40 bids. So JP, we all thought this car might go a little crazy, and it didn't. But when we step back and say that the average for a C4 wide body is 200, and this car hammered for 25% over that number on P-Car Market, I still think that's a win. Did this seller potentially leave a couple of dollars on the table by not going to the bigger platform like Bring a Trailer or to a live auction where Colleen is at Amelia Island? Sure. But for a car that got some studio shots and went to P-Car Market, 251 is an outstanding result, and I'll congratulate the seller on such. I'll just say next time he should watch an episode of Bid Nerds and make better decisions before he leaves a couple dollars on the table. JP, what do you make of that result?
Yeah, he left more than a couple of bucks. I mean, he could have bought a lot of gas. I think he left $30,000 on the table by selling it on P-Car Market. Another weird thing, Deeb, this is something that we've been seeing a lot lately, and you've always had a strong opinion about this. With only minutes to go, towards the end of the auction, the seller, look, the bid was at like 247,964. Someone was cute, like I was, right? And the seller went on in the comments and said, "Hey," well, they didn't say, "Hey," they weren't all casual about it. They were all excited. They're like, "The reserve is off. Someone's getting this car today," right? And usually they think that they're going to get people excited at that point, and that's going to spur bidding. But it only got 2 more bids. It didn't do anything. In fact, it felt like it shot the auction in the butt. There was momentum. People were bidding. People were excited. And then he goes in there and says, "Oh, by the way, everyone, you're all paying more than we thought it would," which makes everybody go, wait a minute. What? Maybe I shouldn't be bidding. It's like, why take their mind off of them spending more money? Colleen, you've got experience with this. What do you think of that move? Good or bad? What's your opinion?
So I think in this specific case, it was probably bad. I was just watching the auctions, and they phrase it a little different. They don't say the reserve is off. They say the car is selling now. It will sell for this number. And so it is a tactic that works better in live auctions because the auctioneer is working the room versus it doesn't come across the same way over like text, over a chat.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, how often do we see people trying to deploy tactics that they would do in a live auction, not translating in the digital auction world? We see that all the time. My real life, I'm in advertising, and we see that constantly with advertisers trying to figure out how they'll make a commercial for television, and then they'll just try to export it to YouTube, not realizing that, come on, everybody skips out of every ad. You got to put the brand in the beginning, not in the end. You can't have the gecko doing something cute and then reveal the brand. So really optimizing your tactics for the platform is a big difference maker when it comes to selling cars. And this is something that my partner and I would never do if we were representing your car. All right, last word, Deeb. What do you think of that number? And let's move on.
I'm still impressed. P-Car Market got that car sold. I still think that's a light win. Did he leave some money on the table? Sure, but P-Car Market has their people, and they did it. They got it done. So it's still tip of the cap.
Solid listing. All right, let's move on. What's the next car on the list?
All right, JP, a car that we remember affectionately from our youth. Feast your eyes on this 1991 Nissan 300ZX twin turbo with a 5-speed manual. I almost said 6-speed, JP. About 4 years too soon. Right. A 5-speed manual. Colleen, Doug DeMuro himself reviewed this car, which is, I guess, like being knighted by the nerds. Our car here, Colleen, the big thing here, aside from being a featured listing on Cars and Bids, is that the odometer reads just 6,900 miles from new. And I'm going to go out and say it. Most of these cars, when I picture this car, JP, I always picture it in either that pearl white or the bright, like Formula Red or whatever they called it. But to see this car shot in the studio in black kind of makes me fall in love with it all over again. It really looks good in these images. So a big old golf clap from this nerd over here. JP, again, low odometer, Montana title, and a San Diego location for the seller, Factory Spirit. Doug DeMuro blessed it. We figured this one would sort of, quote unquote, ring the bell, JP, as they say. Classic.com tells us that you should be able to go to your favorite classified ad like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and pick up a manual 300ZX twin turbo for just $29,000. That car is going to be a little bit clapped out. But JP, I thought this car had a chance, even on Cars and Bids, to hammer for $100,000. I was all in on this one. JP, you took the under at $94,000. And Johnny Lieberman, again, ever the diplomat Johnny was, bid right between us at $96,000. So, Colleen, any love for the old 300Z twin turbo? Shortly after this car kind of shook the European sports car world on its head, we got the NSX, we got the Supra turbo, and then Skylines were in Japan. And this car has been overlooked as the young-timer cars are now bringing hundreds of thousands of dollars. What do you think of the old 300ZX twin turbo, and what do you think a basically in the wrapper one could have hammered for the other day?
So, I mean, I like them. They're far outside my normal market, right? I don't know all that much about these cars, but in the wrapper one, I mean, it's hard to say that it's, in my opinion, 3 times the price of an average one. So my guess would have been lower than yours. My first thought was 75 grand. But
75
you never know
grand,
because these are going up.
Yeah, that's very good. So, JP, I should preface Johnny's bid. Johnny gave us a range of like 88 to 105.5 thousand using his Bid Better AI tool. Then Johnny took the information that a bidder or a user would have to create his own version of what he, create his own estimate for what he thought it would be. So his 96 was based on a range from his tool between 88 and 105. Colleen comes in below all of us, and that's from a lack of confidence because she admittedly doesn't know the market very well. Colleen, you're on the right side of things, but maybe too far low. Our car hammered below the 3 boys in the room at $87,000 where it's sold on 32 bids. So you were right to be a little softer than us, but you were a little too soft at 75. The car selling at 87. JP, same thing. We're going to talk about that C4 wide body with beautiful assets on P-Car Market, which is the most inferior of the platforms still to this day. Cars and Bids is a little bit better at 87 grand. And me, you, and Johnny all thinking this car would be 90 to 100. Do we think the seller taking those assets to bring a trailer got a better result? Is there money left on the table with this listing as you said?
Well, I mean, look, it's not the highest we've seen one of these go for. There was one on BAT way back in July of, looks like 2022. This thing went for $135,000. So these have brought
4 times the miles.
Right. And this one has 22,000 miles. Exactly. So it is weird to me. I think the reason why we haven't seen big numbers on these cars is because, frankly, most of them that come out to market are just clapped out pieces of junk. They're just too darn beat up. There are so few of them that have low miles. These all look, when, you know, us being Porsche guys, we love the 964. Everybody goes gaga over 964. But remember, 964s were on the showroom floor at the same time that this car was. And the 964, people were like, that sucks. That's basically the same 911 they've been giving us for 40 years. They just put some plastic on the bumpers. This thing looked like a spaceship. People were like, oh my God, look how great that car is. And it performed as well or better than a 964. So it is interesting that the 964s saw such big lows. I think these just, they made so many of them and people beat them up. And now it's just when a good one comes out of the woodwork, it's going to bring the big money. It's going to be interesting to see people trying to get really big money for the clapped out ones now that they see this particular result. Looks like we lost my partner, Michael Deeb, and he's back. There he is. All right. Coleen, I'm going to give you the last word on the 300ZX, and then we'll move on. What do you think?
Well, I think I understand a bit more about where your guesses came from, especially seeing that red one that you showed, because the black one, it was presented much nicer. I think, you know, the photos and everything, it looked great. So if the red one brought 135, then if I had known that, I probably would have raised my guess a little bit more.
Well, yeah, but that red one was years ago, and that, you know, it's kind of weird because that was 2022, in the middle of 2022. That was right when things were starting to go really haywire. But I don't know, Deeb, have you seen a 300ZX of that era do that well since? I mean, that one was like just a way anomaly. No. I think your guess, Coleen, was way closer to the actual market, but I think that's going to change. I think we're on the verge of seeing a lot of these cars really take off, unless gas prices go up to $15 a gallon, and we're going to talk about that after the break. This next car we're going to talk about definitely gets good gas mileage for a sports car. What are we talking about, Deeb?
All right, JP, our turbo is going to rule the day after JP scares everybody with the future prices of gasoline. Feast your eyes on a 2016 Alfa Romeo 4C Spider with just 10,000 miles on the odometer from new. Our car looks resplendent in Giallo Prototipo paint with a removable black soft roof panel. This car is filmed, Coleen, right out my back up here in Novato, California. Some very, very good photos were taken of this car, and it was beautifully presented as an alumni listing on Bring a Trailer. JP, our friends at Classic.com remind us that the average selling price of a 4C Spider is $58,000. Johnny Lieberman put this car into his Bid Better AI tool to come up with a range of $59,000 to $64,000. Johnny's bid being 62, closer to the high end of that range. JP, I wasn't quite as bullish on this one. My bid was lower at 54, and yours was more bearish still at just a modest $45,968. You may remember, Coleen, Johnny and JP got into it over the fact that this car didn't have a manual transmission, and JP was like, couldn't be bothered because it's got the wrong gearbox. And Johnny wanted everybody to know that it had a carbon fiber monocoque hub. And JP's like, if it doesn't have 3 pedals, I don't care what's under my butt, you know? So there you go. So that was really kind of amusing from the last show. So Coleen,
he came at me sideways. Coleen, your buddy came at me. He came at me hard. He was like, you can't dismiss how great this car is. Like, bro, that check cashed, that check cleared years ago. I don't care if you were at the rollout from the factory. They're not paying you anymore. You can talk about it freely. You can say what's true. Sorry, moving on. We got to let her give us a bit.
Yeah. So, and some of us are still sore about it. So anyways, Coleen, in cars. This car, in a very German way, is incredibly over-engineered for what it was meant to do. And so the big thing is whether or not that gearbox is going to hold it back from being collectible. Here's a beautifully rare yellow one with very fair miles and a beautiful presentation. What are your thoughts on the 4C, and what do you think this one would have hammered for? Again, I was 54, JP was 45, and Johnny was 62.
What was the mileage on this one?
10,000.
I'd say 60. It's beautiful. I like it in yellow. Yellow is a little difficult to sell sometimes, but people who like yellow go hard for it. So,
what do you think of
there you go.
the feud that Johnny and I had? Like, where do you land in the flappy pedal versus three pedal, dilemma, as I like to call it?
Yeah. Queen of the gated manuals right here. What do you say, Coleen? We're all listening.
Yeah. I am a three pedal person all the way. A real sports car to me has three pedals and doesn't shift itself, but teach their own, I guess. It's, if you're spending your own money on a car, then do whatever makes you happy.
Suck it, Lieberman.
Wow,
all right, what this thing
Team
brings?
JP. Mark one up for Team JP. Very few side with him, Coleen. That is good stuff. Okay, so I am a huge Alfa fan, and I guess I'm Nostradamus on this one. Our car hammered for $53,650 where it sold on 54 bids. I missed a Yahtzee, JP, by $350. My only win of the week, but I'll take it. JP, what do you unpack from that result? Aside from the obvious, that if it had three pedals, it would have gone for $100,000.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just wish there was a three-pedal version. That's all I was really saying. I mean, of course, this car's fun. This is a great car.
Yeah.
There's no denying the thing's not just an absolute blast. But why not make it a little bit more fun by giving us the option, like a lot of the manufacturers were doing at the time, like Porsche with a Boxster or whatever. I don't know. I just don't think these are going to...
Volkswagen with the Golf R.
Sure. I mean, there's a million cars you could use as an example. I think this car is it's just gonna wither away. I mean, they're neat, but fewer and fewer people are gonna want this car. There's gonna be other options. It'll be a good discount option for folks who don't want to learn how to drive a three-pedal car or can't be bothered. Last word, Coleen. What do you think?
I think it's a fair price, and somebody got a lot of car for that money. So.
Yep. All right, let's move on. What's the next car on the list, Deeb?
All right, JP, last one for the last show. A 1993 Porsche 968 Coupe with a 6 manual was running no reserve on Bring a Trailer. Big deal, you say. It's got 108,000 miles on a repaired odometer. But take a second look. This car is paint to sample Wimbledon green metallic paint over a light gray and black leather upholstery. It's got the 17-inch cup wheels. And JP, in these studio shots, you would be forgiven for thinking this car had only 7,000 miles on the odometer rather than 107,000 miles. The car looks to be in outstanding condition given its age and use. With that in mind, JP, we wondered if a super ultra rare shade like Wimbledon green would carry this sort of nominally collectible 968 to crazy heights. Our friends at classic.com remind us that the average selling price for a 968 with a manual transmission is only $31,000. JP, this car was sent to us by Randy Bloom, and there was a few other of the herd on that text chain, and everybody thought that this car would double wherever it was at that time. And so my bid reflected their enthusiasm at $68,000. JP, you tempered your enthusiasm, as you always do, and mimicked your Alfa 4C bid at $45,968. And then our buddy Johnny Lieberman did not get this one into his bid better tool, but his bid for it was more bearish still at only $40,000 even. So Coleen, these cars typically sell for 31, but it's a really rare shade with high miles. What do you think the car would have hammered for on Bring a Trailer?
Oof. Well, so rare colors have been absolutely going nuts recently. So, I mean, look at what the cars at Mecum did. Different spectrum of cars, but, those were insane prices. So I would have to say, let's say 65. I think somebody could really go crazy with this color.
So Colleen was all in on the color like I was, and like Randy and Anthony and all those guys. Colleen, we got left hanging at the altar on this one. Our car hammered for just $43,218. And I will say that that is still an outstanding result, especially when you consider the odometer. JP, it took only 24 bids to get there, $43,218. Now, I know you bid around 46 grand, but I know you think people who overspend for rare colors have lost their mind or bought a brand new pair of pleated khakis for the PCA. JP, was this car well bought or well sold at $43,218?
Well, I think my partner just coined a new phrase that we are going to use repeatedly on the show from here on out, and that is paint to simple. All right? When there's something about rare shades that ruin the brain of PCA members and make them simpletons, they pay some idiot. This is a $25,000 car. It's a TMU. Yeah. It's over 100,000 miles, and we don't know by how much, but because it's Rolex green, some idiot paid 40 something grand for it. And, whatever, there it is. He can put a Rolex livery on it and roll it around to the next Cars and Cafe and brag about it somehow. All right, we're going to move on. I am excited to get to actual predictions. We have a bunch of cars to talk about with Colleen, and we will be right back after this. Don't go anywhere. Open up a can of Hippie Sips. Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. All right, Colleen, you got your bidding dress on because it is time for predictions. The thing to do if you don't have a can, unfortunately, you're in Florida right now, so you can't have any Hippie Sips down there in Florida. But if you are in a state where this stuff is legal, you should get yourself a case by going over to hippiesips.com. This is THC infused goodness. It is organic juices and all kinds of fun stuff. Look, they're changing the way people are drinking socially all over the country. Just if you, even if you can't have it in your state, go to hippiesips.com, check out the website, say hello, let them know that you're there. They support the show and we want to support them. And by the way, this stuff tastes really, really good regardless. All right, throw some vodka in it, it's extra. Okay, here we go. Tonight's big theme tonight is that, look, gas prices are going up. That's all there is to it. We're seeing, Deeb, you're in California. How much is gas there? I've heard prices like in the $8 a gallon range.
Yeah, they're creeping up, especially here in the Bay Area. If it's high anywhere, it's high here. And Colleen, I think, can say the same thing. When she gets home to her humble abode in Southern California, I'm sure she's going to, every time she goes to the pump, she's going to go, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the price of everything has just skyrocketed, and then on top of that, you get shrinkflation. You go get a tube of Oreos or Girl Scout cookies, and the cookies are no longer the diameter of a 50-cent piece. Now they're the diameter of a dime, right? But you're paying twice as much for them. The price of everything we buy has gone up since 2009. Everything is at least doubled, probably tripled, but gasoline really hasn't. Gasoline, for some reason, we won't talk about that, has stayed low, even at $5 a gallon. That's really low compared to everything else that's been affected by inflation. Well, I think that's about to end. I think we're about to see gas prices catch up with everything else, and that could be a situation where we could be paying well over $10 a gallon for gas. They're paying that much or more in Europe already. So are Americans going to have to deal with that? And if we see events happen next week that make things like that happen at the gas pump, what will that do to the value of classic and collectible cars, specifically the ones that we talk about on Bring a Trailer? We have a bunch of cars that are going to be closing this week and may be affected by those kinds of crazy gasoline price hikes. What is the first car on the list, Michael Deeb?
All right, JP, you have selected, particularly for this dialogue, a 2013 Tesla Model S 60 that is running no reserve on Cars and Bids out of Chantilly, Virginia, on a clean Montana title. Our car, JP, has 77,000 miles. It is rear-wheel drive and has a single electric motor. And there's a very interesting thing, JP, where they did a third-row jump seat in this car, which I think is pretty unique to this car. So there are 2 seats with full harnesses in the back, facing backwards, JP, like the old days of the country squire in the 70s when we would ride around with our parents and they would pick up hitchhikers before the the trailside killer and all this other stuff had scared you out of picking up hitchhikers. So JP, our car is dark blue. It's in decent condition. It's got a fair bit of miles, but even though this car is on the correct platform. If you want to sell a Tesla or a Rivian or something of that nature, something that's more of a widget or an appliance, I do think Cars and Bids is the best place to go for that. Our car closes tomorrow and is at a very modest pot at the moment. So JP, I wonder aloud before we even get into the numbers, if this car will even sell for the Tesla average. So there you go, JP. 21-inch wheels, pretty cool with the extra seats. I think that makes it certainly more family desirable for the parents that got a couple of kids, or the ones that usually drive other people's kids to soccer practice and stuff like that. But geez, JP, these things are soft in the secondary market. Could this be a steal, especially if prices go up? I imagine that and a few other things are going to be in your argument. So JP, why are we looking at Teslas and why does it matter right now on the potential verge of a price hike in gas prices as oil becomes increasingly scarce? Even though they can get it out of the ground, they can't ship it to you because everything's being blocked off. What's going on, JP?
Yeah, I mean, who cares about this car other than the fact that people have been talking about the demise of EVs for quite a while. But here it is, we're in a situation where we're going to see energy prices go way up. Back in 2009, like I was talking about at the top of the show, back when gas prices were still $5, but you could get a foot long for $5. They had a program called Cash for Clunkers where the government was paying people to get rid of old gas-guzzling cars to try to inspire people to buy fuel-efficient cars like not Teslas at the time, but the big thing was Prius and Volkswagen TDIs. And I happened to represent a bunch of Volkswagen dealerships back then, like literally 20 Volkswagen dealerships, and they all sold TDIs. And there was a rebate for those, just like there was for EV cars. And whenever gas got up above $4 a gallon back then in that kind of 2008 to 2011 time period, they could not keep TDIs in stock. Like every single one of them that they could deliver was sold months and months ahead of time. But as soon as gas dropped below $4 per gallon, they couldn't move those cars to save their lives. So the smart dealerships were basically whenever the gas prices dropped down, the smart dealerships were ordering everyone that they could get and stockpiling them because they knew, whatever, a few weeks later or a few months later, gas prices are going to go back up and they would just totally clean up. Are we in a situation where EVs could make a comeback? Because look, everyone's going out buying, American cars are all V8s and stuff or big turbos and everything's about power and performance, but at $10, $15 a gallon, nobody's going to want that. The idea of being able to plug your car into your garage and not have to take that heat at the pump, I think is going to really push this might save the EV market. Colleen, what do you think of this particular car and what do you think of EVs in general and gas prices going up big time? You think I'm crazy? I probably am.
Well, I think so. In the collector car market specifically, I don't think the gas prices are going to really change anything because the guys buying the $50,000 plus, especially the more expensive you get collector cars, it's a passion thing, and you don't drive them daily anyways, so you're not really worried about filling up the gas tank because it's just that's more of a side thought. Now, I mean, daily driving stuff and your normal cars, it makes a big difference.
Excuse me.
But that's a far different world, collector cars versus, utility cars. This specific Tesla, the jump seats are interesting, but, the car looks a little rough. So I don't
You don't need to bid yet.
Maybe...
We'll give you last bid.
Yeah.
We'll give you a position for it. So, all right, Deeb, what do you think this thing's going to bring in particular, this one?
All right, JP, I'm going to start with classic.com's average. The average price of a Tesla Model S is $40,000 in the secondary market. But JP, that covers many years that the car was in production. Our 2013 Model S has 77,000 miles. And on Cars and Bids, JP is currently sitting at just $8,300 on 23 bids, and it closes tomorrow. JP and Colleen in particular, we see time and time again that there is not necessarily a huge flurry or fight with bids as the hammer is starting to fall on Cars and Bids. They have the shortest return clock with a new bid. And I think by doing so, they've nullified the action at the end. So when we see a car that's sitting at $8,300, there's no way this thing is going to quadruple before the hammer falls tomorrow. JP, in fact, I think they'd be lucky to get 50% more than the pot is already carrying. My bid for this car, hammer tomorrow, despite this car running no reserve, is just $12,000. JP, I dare you to go over $12,000 on a Tesla on Doug DeMiro's site. I know how much you love both of them. Where are you at, JP? 12 grand. I've thrown down the gauntlet. Colleen, he always bids underneath me, so I put my bid deliberately low to see how much he hates Teslas and Cars and Bids. Where are you at, JP?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think this one's too early. It's closing tomorrow. If this thing were closing on Thursday, it would do much, much, much better, because I think we're probably not going to see anything really crazy till later in the week. The 10th in particular is the day that we really get. I think anything after the 10th is going to be is where there's going to be a bunch of extra action going on. We're going to know the answers to a lot of questions that are affecting what's happening in the Middle East then. So this particular car being, like Colleen said, is a little bit rough for one of these. Look, the Model S is... One thing you got to say, I mean, this car is still worth something. This is still a great driving car from, 2014, and they still drive amazing. Just almost like they did out of the box. It's crazy how reliable these darn Teslas are. They're just not very interesting. At least this one probably still has free supercharging. I think all the early ones came with lifetime charging. So that'll help someone too. But I'm going under you, Deeb. I'm going $99.99 and handing it off to Colleen. What do you think?
Colleen, where you at?
That's funny. I think, oh gosh.
Play to win.
I mean, at either of those numbers, it's a steal because it's a Tesla. EVs don't do it that much for me, but still, that's, good car for 10, 12 grand. I gotta go more. I think 14.
There you go. That's a good
She's gonna
bid,
win.
Colleen. You
She's
get all the
gonna
real
win.
estate above you.
Yeah,
She should.
Smart play.
The car should be. This car should be worth 20 grand. But just sitting there at $8,300 and reading the tea leaves on Cars and Bids, it's hard to imagine that they'll fight for it all the way up to 20. But Colleen's in a good position at 14. JP, that's an interesting argument. When we do a show on Wednesday night, I'll make sure we pick another electric vehicle. Maybe we'll grab a Rivian or something like that, just so we can keep an eye on this dialogue, because it will be relevant at some point, even if what Colleen is saying is true, that the big collectors on the premium cars don't care. I still think there's a lot of us that want to drive our old Alfas and our old Porsches and things like that. And it does make a difference when you go to the pump and it costs, it could cost twice as much by the time summer arrives. So very good stuff indeed, JP. Ready for the next one?
Yeah, let's do it. What's up? What do we got?
JP, a client of mine has asked me to list his 1992 Suzuki Jimny Turbo 4x4 with a 5-speed manual and right-hand drive spec, JP, your favorite spec. Listed no reserve on Bring a Trailer. This client does a lot of business in Japan and has made it a hobby to collect really cool JDM cars, JP, and title them on a Washington title. I mean, is this guy not near and dear to your heart, JP? He bought this car for his son to drive to high school here in Northern California. And after a semester, his son just wasn't into it. Didn't care about the right-hand drive or the lifted Jimny, and said, Dad, come on. And so I've been tasked with turning this car into capital so that they can get something new for Junior. Really cool car, JP. These things, I don't know if you knew this, JP, they're basically like 600 or 700 cc inline threes, I think. And then this one's turbocharged. It's got an aftermarket Mitsubishi turbocharger on it, as well as an intercooler and a blow-off valve. So despite having like stock gearing, JP, where you go like 18 miles an hour and you have to shift gears, if you rev it out to almost redline and then put in the clutch, the blow-off valve goes, it's just like pure comedy. So even a trip to 7-Eleven winds up being like a stage of your favorite rally. This one's lifted. It's got some fog lights and a little ladder and a roof rack on back and a Recaro driving seat and a really, really cool steering wheel that I really wanted to steal for myself and slap on one of my old Fiats or Alfas. So JP, really cool car. Believe it or not, underneath this this hideous dark gray matte wrap is a dark blue metallic Jimny that I wish was like still naked, and then we could have thrown those graphics on the dark blue Jimny. But the car looks really great in the photos. Shout out to Kev, the photographer, for taking these fantastic assets. JP, I know you say that right-hand drive kills all cars, but this one is running no reserve. So every bid is a winning bid, which means you can take it home for next to nothing. And it's still kind of fun and really easy to drive. Any love for a hardtop Samurai with a what do they call it? Yeah, Suzuki Samurai with a blow-off valve. This thing is pure comedy. There's no way you can drive it 5 feet without cracking up laughing. Where you at?
Who is this kid? Come on, I didn't get. Whose parents gives them something this cool to go to high school?
Right?
My passenger door, my driver's side door didn't even work. I had to get in on the passenger side of my 78 Dodge Colt piece of crap after my Fiat blew up. My partner obviously submitted this car a week or so ago because if he had waited, if we knew that it was going to be closing this week, I would have suggested to, in the header of the ad, say that this thing gets what does this thing get? 30 miles a gallon or something like that. Nowadays if the car has a 6-speed manual, you put that in the header. Whatever the car is, 6-speed manual in the header. That's the most important thing. I think we might start seeing fuel economy in the headers. And this one, I mean, again, for a high school kid who can't afford to get to school, he might actually be able to afford to drive himself in something like this. Colleen, what do you think of the little Jimny? And what do you think of a right-hand drive? That is a pain in the butt. I'm dyslexic.
I absolutely love this car, and it's dangerous that it's actually online for sale right now because you have me tempted. And now if I bring home another car, my boyfriend's going to be very upset with me. But this one is tempting because I got no problem with a right-hand drive. I know some Americans are scared of it, but I've driven a whole bunch of them, and they're really simple. I love a little turbo and the sound of these things. I mean, it's adorable, and I love it. I even like the black wrap on it. I have one of my cars is wrapped black, so like a satin black. So I am all about it.
If your boyfriend isn't happy that you bring this thing home, then you have a girlfriend, don't you? I mean, I don't know. I just got to ask. I think that's just like, come on. More cars? All right, Deeb, what's this little thing going to bring? What do we got to do?
I
think JP, Colleen and I are going to be fighting over it.
Yeah, our car is running no reserve, JP, and it closes tomorrow. There is a column for the, I think this is a second-gen Suzuki Samurai, and it's $11,000 on average to bring one of these and put them in your garage. Now, essentially, JP, or I should say the Jimny. We got the Samurai here. The Jimny is the hardtop version for the rest of the world. This one is right-hand drive, which is the thing. JP, I'm going to recuse myself from bidding because I'm representing the car, but we're at $7,000 and the average is 11. JP, do you think just the fact that we have one titled and not even on a Montana plate, this thing's on a Washington title, do you think that's got some value? What's your bid for the Jimny at Hammer tomorrow?
I don't think any of that titling stuff matters. I mean, it's great. It's here. It's ready to roll. I think the fact that it's cheap is what matters, and it's going for no reserve. Colleen, I know you got handbags that are probably worth more than this thing. I'm going to say, I think this thing goes for $12,000. If it had air conditioning, I'd be all over this because I live in Vegas, but it might, I know hardtop, does it have AC? Deeb's looking. Does, yeah. It does, and it works?
Yeah. Wait, no, I'm confused. I have 3 right-hand drives in my garage. This one does not.
I didn't think
the
so.
Skyline, I think, or whatever it is. Yeah,
Colleen, Beach Runner, what do you think? What's it going to bring?
Oh, well, now I'm really tempted to buy it. So
now that you know that we're not going to be duking out.
I know, well, I was guessing right around there, so I'm going to go a little higher. I'm going to say 13.
Nice.
We'll take it. Thank you, Colleen. I just want to thank the Nerd Herd. Anybody that can jump on there and say that you saw it on Bid Nerds. Suzuki doesn't get a lot of clicks and that sort of thing. We plastered it with social media, but if the Nerd Herd would jump on and leave a little comment or like some of the good comments that are on there and try to turn those boxes yellow, we're trying to do whatever we can before we hammer tomorrow. So thank you for that.
Hell yeah. That thing, that's the coolest car you could possibly have in high school for under $20,000. What the heck is this kid think? Who are these children?
The fact that kid doesn't want it, this generation is lost to me.
They're lost.
I would have killed for that car in high school.
Hell yeah. He probably would rather have that Tesla. All right, let's move on. What's the next car on the list, Michael Deeb?
All right, JP, our good friends at Club Wheelhouse, the founder of Club Wheelhouse, Martin, is selling his beloved 1968 Alfa Romeo Giulia 1300 Ti, a car that has affectionately been nicknamed El Taxi Bertito. JP, he bought this racing car and then made further modifications so that he could campaign it with his buddies from the Bay Area in the La Carrera Panamericana. So the 1300 Ti, of course, came with a 1300cc twin-cam inline-4. That motor was chucked, and they got a John Norman Engineering 2-liter mid-compression engine with a couple big fat carburetors and a custom exhaust coming out the side of the back of the car, JP. This thing has a roll cage that looked like it was governed by the FIA. And then, of course, they did this fantastic livery with the taxi sign and they painted all the years that it's been on. JP, this car has campaigned in like 8 or 9 La Carrera Panamericanas, and Martin has done at least 6 or 7 of them himself. Everything in the car has been thought through. So they've got, plexi windows and hammocks swaying in the back so they can put their helmets and their glasses and they won't bang around while they're racing the car through the Mexican countryside. This car has appeared in the CSRG here in the Bay Area. It's been to the Monterey Historics. It's been on static displays. I've displayed it at certain things, and it was at Concorso Italiano just last year. So a veteran of many, many races. JP, this car is beyond patina. Every wrinkle in the sheet metal has its own story to tell. So the question is, JP, will somebody pay a premium for the patina as well as the equipment and the eligibility and the recognition to be welcome at any event anywhere on the West Coast, particularly if this car were to go back to Mexico? Again, Kev, the photographer, helped me shoot this car out at the Marin Headlands, JP. We shot this car last year before they closed the route around Golden Gate Bridge out there in the bunkers. Some fantastic assets. And JP, I just want to tell you, this is just a quiet little teeny tiny flex. Martin and Randy from Bring a Trailer are, of course, buddies. And Bring a Trailer sponsored this car when Martin first took it in like 2009 or 2010 to run the La Carrera. And Randy was invited to go with the team and hang out down in Mexico. So there is like a 4-paragraph soliloquy written under the Bring a Trailer header in the comments, and at the bottom it's signed by Randy himself on a listing I did. So your boy's moving up in the world. I got Randy commenting on my listings, even though I'm ghostwriting this one for Club Wheelhouse. But very cool people have been involved with this car. Everybody around the Bay Area recognizes it, and Randy has signed off on it himself. The question is whether or not we can quantify that into dollars when the hammer falls in a couple days from now. JP, a race car that you can drive on the street, a patina that you could not mimic in a million years, Will somebody pay a premium for it? Tell everybody why cars like this are just too cool, because you can't go to the Alfa dealership today and even get a manual transmission. Am I right?
Lieberman's going to hate this thing because it doesn't have flappy paddles.
I
Look,
know.
this just proves the old saying you can't buy taste is unequivocally wrong, because you can buy this and instantly be the most, you're going to be the coolest person in any car event that there is. Colleen, what do you think of this little car?
I love this. So I love old rally cars and race cars, especially the stuff you can street, you drive on the street. I was just talking to somebody about that, how the 355s are like the last of the challenge Ferraris, where you can drive them to the track, race them, then drive them home. And they're just so cool. So stuff like this is awesome. The market for them, is interesting, but I love this car. Personally, I would love to have it.
All right, another car we're going to be duking it out over. Deeb, what's it going to bring?
All right, JP. So here's where it gets interesting. So our friends at classic.com have a very vague column for Alfa Giulia Berlinas, which just simply means like sedan. And there are like 3 different generations of the Berlina from the years that they do like 16 years of Berlina, which includes 1300 Ti's, Giulia Supers, Berlinas themselves. And it cuts off right before they get into the Alfetta sedans. So JP, this car, the column for this car says that it's $27,000 to get a 105 series chassis sedan. And that's a pretty vague number. This particular car, JP, is currently at $32,000. That comes to us by way of 7 bids, and it closes in 2 days. There has been a ton of fanfare and comments, and some of the comments have been like 25 times. This sort of stuff I'm not used to seeing even on Bring a Trailer. But we don't have a high bid count, and this car, JP, is incredibly niche. We're looking for somebody that loves Alfas, so loves race cars, and doesn't have to have a perfect one. And so you're just like trying to drive an airplane through the eye of a needle. So here we go, JP. We've got 2 days to go until the hammer falls on this one. Again, I will recuse myself from bidding as I am the marshal of this listing. JP, do you think a car like this could possibly go crazy at Hammer and bring a big number?
I mean, it's BAT. It's at 30 something already. We see things double all the time. I don't see why this doesn't go a little nuts. I was going to say something like 60, but with all the stickers, I'm going to give it an extra $1 for every sticker on this thing and go 70 grand. What do you think, Colleen?
So I've sold a lot of cars kind of like this, and like you said, it's so niche. You gotta find that one buyer who's gotta have it, because it's just so unique. But if you find 2 people who have to have it, then it can go crazy, right? The bidding could go nuts.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna be under a little bit. I think 60.
My
60?
bid without the
Very
sticker.
good bid, Colleen.
But then if somebody buys a blank one for 60, they're going to have to pay all that extra money for stickers. That'd be a good deal. All right, Deeb. We are wishing you luck. Look, the one thing about this car is it has a 70-liter gas tank. So even if gas prices go crazy, you could buy it and fill up. Gas prices will double or triple by the time you have to fill it up again. So you'd be doing good. Last word, Deeb, and we got to move on.
Somebody goes and gets one restored from their favorite Alfa mechanic. They bring them a donor car. It's 6 figures to build a car like this easy, and that doesn't include the price of the car. Here you've got one that's already done and is thoroughly shaken down and ready to roll. The trouble is that this one is very niche with the patina and the decals and stuff like that. So we'll see. Thank you guys for your bids. This will be a fun one to watch. And again, to the Nerd Herd, anybody that could take a minute to go on there and say you saw it on on the Bid Nerds or say something nice about the seller or whatever, we would love you for that. Thank you so much.
Hey,
JP, let's jump to the next car.
Before we go to the next, I just want to shout out to all the Nerd Herd members. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. We're having a great time with you. We've got Ross Churchhouse, the OG, Chris Carbine, of course. We got a bunch of new people hanging out too, so it's great that, folks, if you are watching this show for the first time and you're watching it live, that's the best way to do it. If you're here because of Colleen, you're like, what is this thing? And you're still here, thank you. Introduce yourself in the Nerd Herd. Go in there in the comments and say hello. You're going to make some great friends, and that's where the real brains are. That's where the true information, that's where the experts hang out, is the Nerd Herd. So go introduce yourself there. And if you're also thinking, hey, maybe I want to sell my car on Bring a Trailer or Cars and Bids or one of those sites, but I don't want to deal with it, well, guess what? You can hire the Bid Nerds. Happy ending for every auction is our motto. Reach out to us, and we'll be happy to represent your car. That's a mouthful right there, Deeb. I need some hippie sips. Let's get to the next car. What do we got?
Yeah. All right, JP. I teed this one up specifically for Colleen. Feast your eyes, Colleen, on this 1986 Ferrari 328 GTB that is running as a premium listing on Bring a Trailer. Excuse me, out of Huntington Station, New York. Don't rack your brain, although I bet she already knew. Yes, that is in fact blue medio metallizzato paint over. And Colleen, I will ask you honestly later if you knew that it was called Cartier red leather interior. Our car is a European market example, and as such, the odometer is reading 67,000 kilometers, which is only 41,000 miles. That is very fair to low miles for one of these cars from this era. And the special order Cartier red leather and the very rare blue medio metallizzato paint make this already rare hardtop version of the 328 a super rare car indeed. 1,300 fixed roof Berlinetta models were produced. This particular car has spent time in France and Belgium before being imported to the United States in 2024. JP, it gets weirder still, though, because this car is being sold. Let me see if I can read this to you, JP, because I don't know that we've covered one that has been presented like this. This car does not have a title. I'm reading this, by the way, and is being sold on a New York State retail certificate of sale, an MV-50. The sale also includes a bill of sale and the expired Belgian registration documents and U.S. importation documents. The car has not been registered in the U.S., and the selling dealer has offered to assist with registration for the buyer. The selling dealer also tells us that the tariffs and duties associated with the importation for this car have already been paid. JP, if you bring a car from Europe to the United States with the intention of selling it, why on earth would you not finish the job and get it done and put on any domestic title? I don't care if it's Montana or Vermont or Washington or any other places where you're basically skirting a huge helping of taxes just to get it on a domestic bill of sale. This car would be worth infinitely more money if it were on a domestic bill of sale, and I'll let Colleen tell me if I'm wrong, but that is what I believe. I had put a bid up on this car based on what I thought it would bring, and then I read that paragraph, and I think I took 25, 30% off my number because of that paragraph, and the car is here, and everything's teed up. Just go do it already. Like that, I'm at a loss for words, JP, and you know how hard that is to get me to shut up. So
yeah,
JP,
shut up. Colleen, what do you think of this car? You're the Ferrari expert. I don't even want to talk about it. I want to hear what she has to say.
No, you are absolutely right. They are making a huge mistake by not having the title in hand for this car, because it doesn't matter if you promise that you're going to help with the process and it's no big deal and whatever. People are like, you don't have a title, then I don't want the car, or I want a huge discount. And yeah, so Montana's easy. I don't understand why they didn't do that.
Yeah. You can get a bonded title in like less than a month.
Colleen, tell everybody why the 328 GTB is sort of a car of the moment, and I'll feed you a little bit. Classic.com tells us the average selling price of a 328 GTB is $161,000, and these cars regularly sell for over $200,000. Why are these cars so hot right now, Colleen?
So these cars are really cool in the fact that they are the last of the like analog Ferraris. The 308s and 328s kind of fall into the same category there. But the 328s here with the integrated bumper instead of the 308 big rubber bumpers. And then the GTBs, they just made so few of them compared to the GTS, the Targa Tops, that they're super desirable just on rarity alone. And then because of Magnum PI, a majority of these cars were red over tan or maybe, red over black. So getting one like this with the blue over red is going to drive the price way up just because it's a rare color combination. And then this one, it's hard to tell the wheels from the photos. What year is this? I don't think it's an 89, is it?
It's an 86.
86, okay, because the 88.5 and 89 had the upgraded the ABS and different suspension and stuff, so those are the most valuable. I actually set a record a couple years back with a black on black 328 GT 89, and I sold it for $320,000, which is still the record, but that's the 89s bring more money.
All right, what's this one going to bring, Deeb?
Amazing.
We
right,
don't
JP.
have much time, so what do we got?
All right, JP, with 3 days to go until the hammer falls, the pot for this 328 GTB, a European market car, is now $70,000. That comes to us by just 3 bids. Again, our friends at classic.com sell us the average selling price of one of these suckers is $161,000. I thought that this car would only bring about I think my bid was like $130,000. But after I read the title stuff, I think that's going to scare a lot of people out of the room. So JP, my bid for this car at Hammer is $100,000. And since it does have a reserve, I'm guessing it doesn't meet it. So $100,000 FTS, failure to sell. JP, we're at $70,000. I'm $100,000. What's your bid?
Yeah, I mean, Ferraris are so absurdly hot right now. We all know what had just happened with the most recent big in-person auction in Ferrari rare colors. I mean, McDonald's spec cars, worst spec cars are going for huge money, and this is a nice spec. I'll go, even with the title issue, I think there's so much extra money laying around right now that's being printed. The people that can afford this are just looking for ways to put money out there. They'll figure out the title issue. I'm going to say I'll double it. I'll go to 140 and hand it off to Coleen, who's going to tell me exactly how much it actually will sell for.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the title issue really does throw it for a loop because there might be the right guys who bid it up and don't mind. But I think 125, just because it's going to scare a lot of bidders off and without the title it'd go for way more though. So
yeah, what do you guys think it goes for if it has a title?
This was a good turnout.
If it had a title, I'd say it could be 175.
Do you agree with that, Deeb?
That's cool. Yeah, I could. I thought the Euro thing might hold it back a little bit. So my bid, I think, was like 140 with the title. But Coleen knows these cars better than you and I do, JP. And that color and a 328 GTB, that's a car of the moment right now. So there you go.
All right.
Do we have time to squeeze in a couple more?
Speed round, Deeb. I know when I say speed round, you're like, right. So instead of a tortoise, I'll just be a slower tortoise. Speed round. Give me the basics, and let's get to bids on these last 2 cars. Fast. Go.
All right, JP, feast your eyes on a 1989 Mercedes-Benz 190 2.6 with an automatic transmission out of Miami, Florida. JP, this looks like somebody just sold a couple of kilos of Coke and spent all the profit on his 190. Our car is currently sitting at $12,000 and it closes tomorrow. JP, my bid for this car at Hammer is $15,190. It's at $12,000, JP. What do you think the Coke 190 is going to bring?
Well, this is not an in-period done thing. This is what this car looked like not even like in 2024. So this was just done, guys. You're not buying Radwood royalty. Yeah. You're buying something this is Badwood right here. But what was your number, Deeb? What? 14?
15,000.
I'll go 14,190 and hand it off to Coleen. What do you think?
14. It's odd.
Yeah. There you go. Smart bid. Maybe if the trunk were full of crack, it would bring more. Deeb, last car, really quick.
All right, JP. I think it was Randy Bloom sent us this. Check it out. 1981 Volkswagen Scirocco. This is the last year of a Mark 1. It has been treated to a 2.1 liter built 16 valve monster. And then look how cool those wheels are, JP. This car is in really great condition despite having a TMO. But they're bigger snow. They're 15-inch snowflakes, 1552 snowflakes, as it were. JP, despite having a TMU odometer, I just think this car has got too many cool things going on for it, and it has the horsepower to back it up. Out of Oviedo, Florida, it's currently sitting at $25,500. JP, I actually think this car is going to break the bank. I'm going to go 40 grand at Hammer because you got a built 16 valve in a Mark 1 Scirocco. When has anybody done that before? JP, 25.5 now, 40 from me. Where you at?
I mean, that's a very common swap, but we never see him this clean. This is a really nice car. Where is it at right now? You said, what's the number?
$25,500.
$25,000. I'll go $35,000. Colleen, what do you think?
37.5. It's cool. I like it.
Right? This would look really good with that Jimny parked next to it in the driveway. All right, there we go, guys. That's what his kid wants now. All right, thanks for hanging out, Colleen. Thank you so much for being our third nerd tonight. You gonna come back?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I loved it.
And where can we find you on the interwebs and stuff?
Yeah, your Instagram and your business email. Or not email, what's the Freudian slip? Your business website.
Yeah, so my website is nextgen-classics. My business is Next Generation Classics. I also have a YouTube channel, Next Gen Classics. And then my Instagram is Colleen365 GTB4C, which is a Comp Daytona, so one of my favorite cars.
There you go. And on your YouTube channel, that's where you're doing all those reviews in car. You take all these cars out and drive them around LA and tell everybody why they should buy them, right? It's a fantastic channel. She's got great stuff. JP, everybody in the Nerd Herd should check it out on the YouTube. That's probably the best stuff.
All right, guys, have a safe week. We hope we'll all still be here on Wednesday. And if the world still exists, we'll be here with you. See you Wednesday. Maybe. See, that's what's actually going to happen right there. Hey, guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if bid